Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sami George, and today we are going to be doing a deep dive into my method of color correction for Seint Beauty. If you are new to my channel, I started it 3 years ago specifically talking about this one compact makeup. And since then, as a makeup lover and as somebody who's gotten very inquisitive about how the makeup industry has changed, we have ventured into all sorts of different products, testing them, trying them, and seeing what we love from the drugstore, from the mainstream like Sephora, even some high-end stuff, always looking for what works for the mature face. I'm 43 years old. I have rosacea, hyperpigmentation, acne scarring, wrinkles under the eyes. I have all the things that come with aging skin. And to this day, my absolute favorite, if you told me I could only use one makeup for the rest of my life, it would still be Seint's Cream Foundation because it is just special. It is special the way that it sits on mature skin, the formulation lasts, it feels and makes me look beautiful. But with that being said, I teach it differently. And the biggest difference between what you're gonna see from most Seint artists and myself and a handful of others is how we teach layering the makeup to really take care of a woman's color correction needs. So if you are somebody who has redness, who has dark under eyes, who has some hyperpigmentation, melasma, something of that sort, and you want your makeup to last all day and you still want it to look like skin, today I'm going to do a deep dive for you in exactly how to apply your color corrector and your main highlight, which is your foundation, in order to get a flawless look that still looks like your skin. So if that's something that you think would be of interest to you, let's get into it. If you've been around my channel long, you know that I'm a talker. So I'm not going to get into what is Seint and how does it work and all of that. There are a ton of videos on my channel that you can go back to. But what I am gonna get into today is specifically how to apply your color corrector and how to layer it with your main shade on top. And this is different than what most people teach because Seint's traditional method of applying your makeup is in one layer. You put a brightener around the eye, you put a contour to chisel the face, and you fill in the gaps with your main highlight, and then you throw on some blush and you are good to go. That method is great. It works for many people. I do it on days when I want super fast makeup. When I want my makeup to last 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, I have to color correct first. And here's what's important to know. These tins are full opacity. So that looks like it's gonna be like a thick, heavy product. It is not. When applied as it was intended to be applied, it is really meant to be a very sheer, skin forward formulation. Like it should show your skin through it. If you go to Seint's page, you will see that the models and the artists on there are often showing you a very thin veil of makeup. That's what the makeup was created for, to be skin forward, your skin but better. Now, with that being said, there are some of us that have concerns like I do, okay? I have consistent redness here. I have darkness under my eye. I actually have a lighter coloring here under my eye. I have acne scarring. I have some melasma in this area, a red chin, a scar on my nose. So why does that matter? Because when you don't color correct with Seint, your makeup tends to show more of that color through it than a lot of people like. If you don't mind that, then this video is not for you. But if you're looking for more coverage and you want your skin to still look like skin, that is the method that I teach. And the method that I teach is different. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. If you're watching this and you love the way your makeup looks, that's perfect. But if you're watching this or you are my client and you want to better understand the color correction process, that's what we're digging into today. And when I'm talking color correction in the method that I teach it, because let me tell you this, when I first got the makeup, I got color matched, I got the makeup, I hated it. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I put on way too much. I looked like the cake scene from Mrs. Doubtfire where she like puts her face in the cake and my colors were wrong. So all the pieces and parts just, bleh. I literally set it aside for like a month. And then I came back and then I tried it again and I played with it again. And eventually I had to find an artist who was closer to my age range, who had similar skin concerns that I did. And I got recolor matched. My former artist left the company. I started a new relationship with an artist who taught the method that I'm teaching today, and it has been a complete game changer. Now, the thing about this method to know is It takes time to learn. This makeup is not like traditional foundation. It doesn't color correct your skin in these areas the way that a medium coverage skin tint or a foundation would, because it was not formulated to be medium coverage from a like initial application. It was formulated to be very light coverage. Now you can build it all the way up to a very full medium coverage if you want to. And when most people, myself included, when I first got the makeup, try and do this, all they do is put more and more and more of this color on their face. And then it feels heavy, and then it feels sticky, and then it's cakey. And honestly, that is not my preferred method of application. My preferred method of application, and the way that I color match my clients, is to look at the skin tone, the undertone, and the overtone. The overtone is going to be these points that change. So in the summer, in the winter, my actual like discoloration, it looks different. And when I put your color match together, you're going to see blue dots on the face where I intend for you to put this color corrector. Seint has cream correctors. We're not talking about that today. We are talking about highlight shades that can also color correct the skin. In the traditional makeup world, you see people talk about color correction, and it's typically only under the eyes. This is the same general concept using color science, but I'm using it on these points on the face as well so that we can build this sheer product up on top of it and already have toned down the concern that we have there. So it's not just more and more and more and more of this neutral shade. It's removing and neutralizing the discoloration using color science and then applying this lightly over top to make sure that it matches our skin tone. Because the color science is going to be a shade that is not your skin tone. It's typically going to be something that has some warmth in it. Now, there are people that use aspen, there are people that use ash, those are contour shades. That is not my preferred method. There's a time and a place for it, but most often people's complaint when you use something gray-based is that then they look dead. That's why you don't see a lot of color correctors, if any, in traditional makeup that are gray. They typically have some warmth to them, and the deeper the skin tone, the deeper the warmth is gonna go. So women of color might actually be color correcting with something that looks peach or even red in tone. For those of us that are a little bit more fair, ours is typically going to have something that has a little bit of yellow in it. Your color corrector will be a part of your color match, but it is dependent on the color concerns that you have on your face. So oftentimes people ask me, well, what shade should I use to color correct? I'm not your client. And I can't tell you that because I need to see your skin in natural light. I need to see the actual discoloration that you have on your face. And then I'm going to pair a main highlight shade accordingly. Your main highlight shade for me might be different than it would be if you weren't using a color corrector and you were color matched by a different Seint artist, because I'm going to account for the warmth that I'm going to add into your skin, and then I'm going to put your main shade accordingly. And maybe that doesn't all make sense like until you start playing with it, but I promise you, like it will. That's why my color match is gonna be different than others. So I can't give you just a general, hey, try this color corrector. It simply doesn't work that way. It's a combination of your overtones, your undertones, and your actual skin tone. So let's dig into the actual application. The two brushes that I recommend almost all the time to a new client are the detail brush and the blush and bronzer brush. They will both look gold like this. This one's 5 years old. The brushes last forever. I had no need to buy a new one. So this is why this one looks different. Now there are a plethora of brushes that you can color correct with, but to keep it simple and affordable to a new client, these two brushes simply do everything that you need for your face, from color correction on these two, to contour, to the application of your main highlight shade and your blush, for bronzer, for adding your brightener. So that's why we're gonna keep it simple with two tools. You can always add more later, specifically for spot correction, or maybe you want a brush that's a little bit smaller than this. But this is what we're gonna do for today, because if you are new and you are somebody who is starting your application process, this is for you. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna take the small end of the detail brush and I'm going to tap the smallest amount right here onto the top. And what I'm gonna do first is I'm going to look in a mirror, and I encourage you to do this when you're first learning this makeup in front of a window. Bathroom lighting is typically yellow. So we're no longer able to see our skin like in its most true colors. That's why I always film my YouTube videos in front of natural light, so you can see the actual correct color of my skin without studio lighting or yellow bulbs. So if you have the opportunity to put a mirror in front of a window, that is the best way to do it. So go ahead and tap a little bit on there, and I like to start with my under eyes. So you see this darkness right here in this trough? I'm simply going to sweep this into that trough to start to tone down some of that darkness. And based on what you tell me your skin concerns are, that's where the blue marks will be on your face. And you're going to follow that map, or simply you're going to look at your skin and say, where do I have some discoloration today? You will be able to be flexible with this because my discoloration, it certainly changes. So this will give you the flexibility to just assess your face in the morning and kind of make the corrections that you need to make. So you'll see I have this lightness under my eye. I did take a little bit of my color corrector and kind of filled in that gap because what I'm trying to do is to get as much of my skin tone to look exactly the same before I go into my main foundation shade. So I got rid of some of that lightness by adding color corrector, but I also tapped in on some of this darkness. Now I'm adding a little bit more, and I'm no longer going to sweep. I'm going to press. When you want to build coverage, press. And we're talking the lightest amount. You'll start to understand what quantities work for you by playing with the makeup. But remember, you do have to be patient. This is not something that you're probably going to get on the first try. It takes a little bit of time. And when I put my makeup away, when I didn't like it, I went back to using powder. And guess what? I had the exact same outcome from why I chose to buy the makeup in the first place. I don't like the way the powder looks on mature skin. So I had to bring it back out. I had to find a new artist. I had to learn a new technique. And it certainly took me some time. So now I'm going into this redness. Tap, okay, just a little bit on the tips of the brush. Your brush should feel dry. Don't ever sweep. Don't ever dig. Just tap. And I am just simply buffing this in to the areas that you see that discoloration. For me, it's quite a bit of my face. I'm very similar on both sides. So I'm only gonna do half so you can see as it tones down exactly what I'm talking about, like in real time. Now I'm gonna take this area here on the cheek where I have that rosacea, and I'm gonna tone that down. Now understanding that I'm using color science, so I know what the base of rosacea is, and I'm adding a color over top that's going to neutralize it. Is it going to completely remove it as if this was a full coverage foundation? It's not, because then it's not gonna look like skin. Our skin is gonna have some natural deviation of color, and that's okay. But the goal, at least for me when I do my makeup, is to not be bothered by these things, to not have these things showing through, or I'd rather just, I don't know, throw on like a tinted moisturizer or a tinted sunscreen and roll out for the day. If I'm gonna do makeup, I want it to tone down the things that are bothersome. So on these areas where I have acne scarring, I'm just gonna press a little bit more to tone them down. And you're gonna notice this is gonna make my skin, if the light is showing well, a little bit warmer than it normally is. That's why we put a shade over top of this, to get back to my actual skin tone. So I'm just using that small end of the detail brush. If you have a whole face of melasma, redness, you could tap in and you could buff it on with a larger brush just to make it go more quickly. I like to use the smaller brush just because of precision, but that's literally just personal preference. And I'm gonna tap here, and I'm gonna do this on the scar on my nose. I have redness under my nostrils, so I'm just buffing this in, okay? These little buffing motions. Remember, when we want to add, we press. So now you're going to see the difference from here to here with a color corrector. This is going to account for your longevity concerns. If you feel like, oh, your makeup's breaking up through the day, or your discoloration is showing through more than you want it to, this is what's going to help prevent that. By color correcting the areas of concern first and diminishing that color, then we can simply go in with our main highlight shade, which is what I'm gonna do next, and that's gonna be our entire base. So we have this as a start, and then we have this after color correction. Now I wanna tone down some of this orange, and I wanna get closer to my natural skin tone, so I'm gonna grab my blush and bronzer brush, and I'm going to tap in. And the reason I actually wish that we would come out with brushes like this again is that it helps you see the product is just sitting on top of the brush. It should never be down here in the bristles. We're never digging in, and we're also not like tearing up on our face. We wanna be soft. So now that I've put on a color corrector, this needs to go all over and on top of the color corrector. If I don't put it on top of the color corrector, I'm gonna look orange, right? But in order to not move this, all I'm gonna do is stipple or press. Tap, tap, press, press. And I am gonna do that all over this side of my face. Pressing over top of that color corrector, not buffing or sweeping. This is how we're gonna add coverage in small layers without it looking heavy, cakey, tacky, and being able to go from this to this, and you can still see my skin. It still looks like skin. Now, I have no discoloration on my forehead, so I'm not worried about pressing as much. It is the method that looks best all the time. Stippling this into the face looks best all the time. Do I sometimes get lazy on my forehead and do a little bit of this? I do. But because I don't have any color correction concerns there, I don't have any concerns over moving product. So I'm simply just adding coverage. And now I'm gonna go in and I'm going to assess, is there anywhere else that I want more? The more I tap, tap, press, press, the more I build this into a medium coverage look. Today, we're not doing contour. We're not doing brightener. I simply wanted to take you through the steps of color correction so that you can see a side-by-side of the difference. And as you're playing with your makeup, as you're getting started and looking at my color match, you can better understand both the application and the method that we're using. So that's it. That's color correction. So we reduce this redness, we tone down the scarring, we reduce some of the darkness under our eyes, and then we brought things back to matching our skin tone based on adding, with a pressing motion on top of that, our main highlight shade. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video where we're gonna talk about contouring a mature face. And in that video, you'll see the next steps for finishing your makeup, which will be contour and brightener. My color match and my contact information is in the description box below. So if you are new to Seint or if you are in need of a Seint artist, you can simply fill out my color match, and that is the beginning of the client-artist relationship, and that is how I can help you get started. If you found today's video helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. That really helps out my channel. And if you are new here, maybe consider subscribing. I upload videos like this on mature skin beauty every week, and we have started a weekly live as well. That's it for today's video, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.